Well, Minister, as you know, the Global Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety identifies speed and inappropriate speed as a factor in virtually all crashes. And of course, 1.25 million people tragically die on roads throughout the world every year. Many people think recently there's been an upsurge in aggressive and speeding behaviour by many drivers, and that we need to take action here to combat it. And of course, we had the debate on Jake's Law, the 20 and 30 MPHs for home zones and slow zones, but it's been very slow, I think, in the local authorities to implement it. You talked about graduated speed limits, so are you planning legislation or action in this regard?
Thank you. Ministers, 2 minutes.
Thank you. As Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport, I have responsibility for overall policy and funding in relation to roads. The planning, design and implementation of individual road projects on national roads are a matter for TII under the Roads Acts 1993 to 2015 in conjunction with the relevant local authority. For regional and local roads, it is a matter for each respective local authority. The enforcement of road traffic legislation is a matter for the Garda Síochána. Following on from the 2013 review of speed limits and subsequent 2015 guidelines for managing speed limits, provision has been made for greater use of lower speed limits in urban areas. This includes the greater use of the 30 km/h speed limit and the use of 30 km/h slow zones. These slow zones should be introduced to increase safety for the most vulnerable road users on roads, such as those which have direct frontage housing or are immediately adjacent to play areas. Signs for slow zones, amongst other things, indicates the presence of other types of road users. Further material in relation to these is available in the Traffic Science Manual, TSM, and an accompanying advice note. In addition, my department introduced a number of years ago a new design standard for urban roads, the Design Manual for Urban Roads and Streets, which provides for improved urban design to support traffic calming and safer interaction between road users. Road authorities have been requested to give serious consideration to the lowering of the speed limit from 50 km/h to 30 km/h within residential estates. Where a speed limit of 30 km/h is being implemented, local authorities and community groups should consider the implementation of slow zones. This is being rolled out across the country in conjunction with lower speed limits. In addition, since 2015, special limits of 30 km/h have been applied in over 6,400 housing estates. My department has been funding this programme of works since 2015.
Thanks, Lascan. Well, Minister, you are the Minister responsible for speed limits, and I recall your predecessor, the late Deputy Seamus Brennan, when we were introducing the current limits in 2004, raising the question of whether or not we should have gone then for, say, 110 kph or kph top limit rather than the 120, and whether is it time though to look at the whole 2004 Act again, sections 5 to 9, which I think you're familiar with. But according to the statistics on the Garda Síochána website, there were 13,364 drivers detected for speeding in January this year, and 11,284 were detected in February. But compared to 2018, Minister, this seems to be a very dramatic increase of over 8,000 for January and almost 8,000 for February. And so there seems to be a trend of increasing drivers being detected for speeding. You told me back, I think, in a month or so ago, you were saying, when I asked you other questions about this, you said a pedestrian who was hit by a car travelling at 50 kph has a 50% chance of survival, but at 60 kph that chance drops to just 10%. So is it something, Minister, you should have very high on your list? You promised us legislation on this, but you haven't delivered.
Just make it clear, deputies, I will give an opportunity, but you must get the person who tabled it to have his first two questions, and then Minister, 1 minute, please.
Yeah. Deputy, I have made a commitment on speeding, and there's, that is in no way being diluted in any way, and I think you'll be aware of the fact that I'm intent on introducing a bill on speeding, on graduated speeding as soon as possible. I'm taking it to the Cabinet Committee on Infrastructure, and that will come out of there at an early date. I hope hopefully early September, October anyway, and we will introduce speeding legislation. The idea of graduated speeding is something which I think is necessary, because the Deputy will be as aware as anybody else that speeding is a very, very serious problem. It is responsible for a large number of road deaths, and it's something which I'm intent on tackling. And the figures which you've given us here today are pretty telling. So you won't find me wanting on that. Okay. Everybody always finds ministers wanting on the length of time it takes to introduce anything. But on the issue of speeding, I'm fully committed to introducing graduated speeding limits. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. Well, we've had, I think, 58 fatalities in the year to date on our roads, including 9 pedestrians, 4 cyclists, Minister, which is it's an increase of 3, I think, on the same period last year. And we had a few very, very bad months at the start of the year. But is it necessary now, I think, for the Road Safety Authority to have, ongoing, strong, pervasive campaigns to tell us all to slow down a little bit? Is that what's necessary? I think there's a movement in Europe as well. You might have seen that the car maker Volvo, for example, is talking about introducing limiters, that advanced driving systems, for example, which many people are lucky to have on very cars which came out very recently. That should be across the whole car fleet, and that's something that we should look at. And the other area, of course, is your colleague in communications was here yesterday talking about the climate action plan, and there's no question, obviously, if you drive more slowly, there are less carbon emissions. So for many reasons, I think it's something you need to act on, Minister. I'm
allowing a short, relevant 30-second question.
Minister, you may not be aware, but over a month ago there signs were erected there in Finglas South on Hazelcroft Road and Clonlara Road, 50-kilometre signs into a housing estate with large built-up area, a lot of children. Dublin City Council done it. I made complaints about it, but they said that the council haven't adopted the rules in regards to 30 kilometre. I find it absolutely appalling that we would have 50 kilometres going into a built-up estate. And I think, Minister, you should raise that with Dublin City Council. It's not good enough. They are still sitting there, Minister, in a built-up estate.
A separate question. The question was general. This is specific.
Yeah, I mean, I just replied to Desi Ellis, to Deputy Ellis on that. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. It is a matter for Dublin City Council. If you like, I could send them off for Mr. Marston why it's happened. I don't know what the response will be. They will probably tell it's a matter for themselves. But thank you for raising it. Deputy Broughan, yeah, the graduated penalties, I think you'll find, are something which you will find satisfactory, and it's part of the agenda which you've been pursuing with great eloquence and determination over a long period of time. And I think, whereas I'm not quick enough for you, I'm following a path which you would approve of, and I will continue to do so.
Thank you.
Local authorities also over the last few years have been reviewing speed limits on rural roads in accordance with the 2015 speed limit guidelines. This is a major exercise, but it should improve consistency in the application of speed limits across the country, which in turn should contribute to improved safety. Regarding regional local roads, my department funds an annual programme of safety improvement works for eligible local authorities. This programme encompasses a variety of works in both urban and rural areas. There is nothing to which I'm more committed as a minister than to safety on the roads. We can't do everything at once, but there is an urgency to it.